Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make smoked salmon, and we're going to do it on the smoker that I made, and we'll show you how that goes from the start to the finish. Last time I just kind of put some pictures on Facebook. I didn't really give any instructions on how it's made. There's not a whole lot of ingredients that are necessary for this. We've got some lemon, some kosher salt. I do use the Prague powder, the Cure #1. I'd rather err on the safe side because sometimes salmon or sometimes even meat can tend to have some bacteria on it, and I would rather be safe than sorry with that. So it's just a very small amount that you add to that. And we got some white pepper. We also have a little bit of allspice. Just a small amount of garlic powder. And we also have half a cup of dark brown sugar. This isn't the regular, this is the dark. Set in a cup of kosher salt. We also have a lemon. And the recipe for this is for like 4 pounds, but I've only got like maybe a pound of salmon here. But these are just the little frozen fillets that you get in the freezer section. They're actually pretty good, so like I said, I like the fact that they're individually wrapped, so you can only do a few if you want to. If you want to take the entire package out and do it, that would be fine too, and actually this is pretty good, so you might want to. So let's get started and I'll show you how we do this. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to put 4 cups of water in my pan. Now I want to heat that up, and I want to dissolve my cup of kosher salt in that, and I'm going to heat this up and get that all dissolved, and then I'm going to put some sugar in here as well because I want that dissolved. And then when I get that done, I'm going to chill this down because you have to have the brine cold, so I'll probably just put it in the sink with some ice bottles or whatever to get it chilled down to the temperature that I need. Okay, our salt has melted in here, dissolved, and so now I'm going to put the brown sugar in and stir it around until it's dissolved as well. So like I said, this recipe is actually very simple. It's just kind of a sugar salt cure for the salmon. Okay, I want to get that chilled down, and then I can put my salmon in there. And I'm going to go ahead and add my spices and my Prague powder. And I want to give you a caution on that Prague powder or that Cure #1. If it says a specific amount to use that and don't go over that. If it says to use a tablespoon, don't think, oh, well, a tablespoon and a half will be better. The stuff can be toxic if it's used incorrectly. I will say that much. So like I said, you want to make sure that you use specific amounts of that. Don't mess with that. If it's used like it's supposed to be, it's perfectly safe. A lot of people, now I'm going to tell you, a lot of people say, well, I don't want anything that's got nitrites in it, and that's fine if you want to feel that way. Or you go to the grocery store and you see something that says nitrite free. Well, if it's bacon or ham or anything else like that, technically they can get away with saying that because they use, I believe it's celery juice, which is nitrate. And when your body actually processes the nitrates, then it turns it into nitrites. Well, in order to get it to do that, they basically have to use 10 times the amount of nitrates that you would with the nitrite. So while it may say nitrite free, really it's not, because your body doesn't know whether it was nitrates or nitrites to begin with, and they're using way over the amount that you are using of this Prague powder. So don't let the advertisement stuff fool you. It still has nitrates in it, which will turn to nitrites. Okay, I'm getting off my soapbox now. So like I said, things aren't exactly as they seem. So anyway, we're going to chill this down, and then I'll put my fish fillets in here. So we'll be back. Okay, we've got our brine chilled down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some of this in here now. And I want to take my lemon. Now I'm going to use about half of this lemon, just to juice out half of it. Okay. Place these skin side up in the pan, in the bowl. Alright, you can see I got all my fish in there, all skin side up on those, and now I'm going to take and pour the rest of my brine over the top of that. So now what I want to do, it's like they're floating in there. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. That should be plenty of time for that cure to take. Okay, our fish has been brining for an hour and a half. So now I want to pour the brine off of this. I want to rinse these really good and let them soak. And I'll change the water 2 or 3 times. But I want to get the excess salt off of that and kind of out of the meat. So but that's what it looks like. So I'm going to turn these fillets over with the flesh side up now. And like I said, just run some cold water on these and rinse these off. Like I said, I'll do this probably for about a half an hour to get that excess salt out of there, and then I'll take them out and they'll have to dry for about probably half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe even longer. And they'll develop what's called a pellicle, which they get kind of a shiny gloss to them, and that's when they'll accept the smoke. If you put it in there all wet, it won't do any good. The smoke will be a waste of time and a waste of money. So we'll just continue rinsing these, and then we'll be back when it's time to take them out to let them dry. Okay, our salmon fillet's been rinsing, soaking in the clear water for about 45 minutes. So now I'm going to take them out. What I want to do is I want to pat each one of them dry. Just going to give them a little bit of a squeeze to get the extra water out of there, the moisture. I'm going to set it over here on the rack to get the air to circulate underneath it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put this back over the top of this dish, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator and let it sit for probably an hour to form a pellicle. And I'll show you again. But you can kind of see what these look like right now. Hopefully the camera will focus. But it's not really got a shiny look to it or anything. I'll probably trim this off. But like I said, I'm just going to let these sit and dry. There's, like I said, a little bit of moisture there, so let's see what I'm just trying to get the extra moisture off of these. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator just like this, open so the air can circulate. Sideways. And then we'll get our pellicle going on this. And we'll be back in about an hour. Okay, not sure how well this is going to show up on the camera, but you can tell it's kind of got, see how it's kind of got a gloss to it? It's kind of shiny. Let's zoom in. There we go. See how it's got that shine to it now on top of the skin? Or on top of the flesh, should I say. That's the pellicle. That's what we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom this out, set this over here, and I've got my wire rack here and a paper towel with some vegetable oil on it. So I'm just going to basically wipe this down because I don't want the fish to stick to this. So and so I'll just take and lay my fillets out on this. Keep them spaced out pretty decent. And I'm just going to put it in my smoker. Now I've got this set, like I said, to 86 degrees Fahrenheit or 30 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to put this in here to basically dry it out for about half an hour to an hour. And then after we do that, then we'll start applying to the smoke. But right now I just kind of want to dry this out a little bit. So we're going to leave this in there. Hopefully you can see. There we go. Make it get out of the light. So like I said, we'll run this at 30 degrees Celsius for about an hour. And then I'll come back and start applying the smoke. And I want the damper completely open on this right now so that'll dry. And for our smoke mix, we're going to use a combination of some alder, and this time I'm going to use some cherry. Last time I used apple, this time I'll use cherry. Now I'll try different combinations till I find something that I really like. The apple was really good, but I figured you never know unless you try whether you might like something better. I do know that the cherry from yesterday is pretty hard to start, so it's going to be mostly alder in here. Just a tiny bit more. And this total will smoke for about, a heavy smoke for about an hour, and then just a real light smoke for about another half hour, an hour. Just yeah, I think that's plenty. And the one thing that's nice about that smoke generator thing I got is that you can actually, when you're done, if you don't use up all the chips, you can actually just unplug it from the air supply and it'll extinguish itself. So I just want to mix those up real good. Maybe if there's some really bigger ones in here, I'll just break them down a little bit. There's some pretty good sized pieces in here. So anyway, after that dries, we'll be back and I'll show you how I get this started for the smoke. Okay, I don't know if I've really covered this completely or not, but I'm going to show you what I've got. So what I have here is an STC 1000 controller. I have it hooked up to heat and cool. The cool is the little computer fan that I have over here, and I actually have a bigger fan I just pulled out of a computer the other day that I may end up switching out, because while this one works okay. I think if I had something with a little more power, it would probably work a little bit better. And then I also have a hot plate down on the bottom on the inside here. Just like a little cheap Walmart hot plate that you can get. I think it was like $13. And underneath here, if I can get it, I don't know if I can, but there's the plug-ins for the heat and the cool. And here's the fan here, and then the hot plate is right here. So it's like I said, I've got this set to 30 degrees Celsius now, so as you can see and stuff, it's got 35 degrees right now, and the cool has kicked on, which means the heating element has gone out, and the fan over here is pulling in the cool air from the outside. Okay, and then this is the thermostat, actually for the STC 1000. I've just got it laid in here so it can sense the temperature and know when to kick in and out. This is nothing more than an aquarium pump. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a T fitting, hopefully maybe to go on these two, and combine them together so I can have just a little more air going through here. And this is just some brass fittings. Brass pipe nipples is what they actually call them. And then just the T fitting right here. And this is actually like a base, I don't know exactly, but it's for pipes or whatever. And I put that on there because it was getting pretty wiggly, just this working in and out of the hole in there, since this is just a real cheap thin aluminum. So I actually went in there, and then it's got bolted underneath and everything to keep it steady. And then just a cake pan I put on top of there just to give it a little bit of clearance underneath so it doesn't get really hot. And here's the venturi holes on that, so that's where you can see the fire. And this is what actually makes this thing work. The air blows in from the air pump, goes through that, and this actually extends on beyond this T pipe out to about here. So it actually and stuff, it's kind of like drawing air up in, drawing air up through this, and that's what keeps that lit down there. So as this is blowing through, it sucks air from the bottom of that and blows through here. Well, then there's smoke comes through here. And this is this is just kind of rigged up, but it's like it works. But this is from a CPAP machine. And no, this isn't going to melt or anything like that, because this doesn't get hot enough. That the smoke coming up through here might be 70 or 80 degrees, maybe 90 at the highest. And it just made it with a little bit more flexible and a little tighter fitting in there. And it was an excess that somebody had, and I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and use it. And I pulled out, when I pulled the pipe out of here, I went ahead and took the plastic wiring part that was in there, so if for some reason that this happens to get damaged, then I can just go ahead and replace this, because I've got probably another 6 foot of this pipe left. So that's basically how this thing works. It's like I said, after it gets going really good, the alder starts really good and burns really well. The cherry is hard to get started. The apple worked pretty good. It burnt pretty well too. But I had this going yesterday, and it was cranking it. Then up here on the top, I just have the damper to open and shut. Like I said, just a little bit warm in there, just to dry that out. But anyway, that's about it. Now, and I did cover the outside of this with reflectix and stuff to try to keep the temperature up when I have to crank it up to about 170 some odd degrees. And as I said in one of my other videos, I know it's a galvanized can, but unless you get up to about 600 degrees, there's nothing to worry about. The galvanization on that does not break down to like 680 degrees, and I would never get this thing that hot. So anyway, so this works pretty good. So I said, well, I'll show you the finished product when I get that salmon out of there. Let's just take a real quick peek just for shits and giggles. But see, there's the thermostat there. And I got a pizza pan in the bottom for any drips. And this is what I made the Polska kielbasa on too, so it works good. So we'll be back when our salmon's ready to smoke. Okay, I'm going to show you what the inside of this thing looks like. You can see the holes better. There we go. But you can see the holes down here. So anyway, let's take the lid off. And see, I have the bolts that go all the way through there. You can see how much smoke has been through this. And on the inside, I cut a little piece of tin to kind of run that at an angle so it keeps the chips headed down that direction. So then that way it keeps feeding. It'll keep burning. So let's put this in here. And that should be more than plenty. It's like I said, I'll probably end up putting this out. Usually what I do with this thing is I'll actually blow on the end of this hose to get it started. Because it seems like the more oxygen it has to begin with, the better it works. And I'll just pull this loose. And I got a big damn lighter. See. And I'll open the door and we'll let this out. As you can see through the hose, and there it's definitely smoking. And I want to hook this up to actually make it blow. Has to be plugging in. Works better that way. I'm probably going to work on that just a little bit more to get a really good heavy smoke going. And I'm going to also turn the temperature up on that. So let's get that done. Okay, now you can see it's cranking it out. So I'm going to raise this up to 40. You might ask why I made this like this, and that is in case this is out in the rain and it never rains, the electronics will stay dry. Alright, I think we're good. If I need to, I'll come back out there and check this probably about every 10-15 minutes just to make sure that thing stays burning. But it looks to me like with the smoke that's coming out of there now, that we should be good. So we'll be back in about 15-20 minutes. I wanted to show this too and stuff. It's like I've got this about a quarter of the way open. So anyway, it looks like it's working pretty good. So like I said, I'm gonna have to work on, like I said, I think I need both of those pumps going to one hose. So anyway, as long as it's smoking, like I said, we got up to 43 degrees, so that's good. So we're on the cool down now. So I know it's getting warm enough. That's good. And in here, just about another 15-20 minutes, and I'll put the temperature probe in that. So we'll be back. Okay, we've been running for about 20 minutes, and now I want to kick this on up to 50. So this is actually 50 degrees Celsius, so. Turn the heat back on. And I'm also going to insert my internal temperature probe into the meat. 176 for the internal temperature of the meat. So I'll dip this in one of the fattest ones I got there. said, I'm going to make a chip starter for this because some of these chips, is, like I said, the cherry, it must be like a really, really hard wood. I know from cutting it with a chainsaw, it's like, oh my god. So it's kind of hard to get the stuff lit. So I'm going to make a chip starter in a video so I can get these chips started a hell of a lot easier instead of having to keep tending them about every 10 minutes. I want this to be completely hands-free. Like I said, when I put the T-joint on this to join the two pipes together, that'll help some, but I think a chip starter will help more than anything. This is probably going to be an incredibly long video, I apologize. But now it's going again, so we'll see. Okay, this has been running about 50 for about the last 20-25 minutes. I'll raise it on up to 60. And I'm going to raise it all the way up to 80 in the next probably 40 minutes. And I may have to get in there and turn that hot plate up higher. Alright. Well, it's kicking in and out, so I may not have to, since it actually is kicking it in and out if it just stays on. And the internal temperature on the fish right now is 90 degrees. I'm going to take a quick peek, see what it looks like. And then at the end of the video, I'll show you a difference in the color between before and after. Well, let's make this real quick so we don't lose too much heat. Ooh, it's tight. So, kind of see how that's turned a deeper red color. So, anyway, we'll keep going. Okay, I'm going to unplug the smoker and bring us in. There we go. Turn this hot pet plate up a little bit. That meat has to get up to 176. So let's see what we got this set at now. Let's crank this on up to 80. So we're going to leave that. And let it get up to temperature, and after it reaches up to 176 on the inside of that, then it's going to have to sit for an hour. So we will be back.